A woman was walking along a remote, windswept beach in Western Australia when she spotted something dark, half buried in the shifting sands. Thinking it was likely just another piece of ocean trash, she almost walked past, but a strange, instinctual curiosity made her stop. She knelt and dug it out. It was an old, dark-colored bottle, strangely shaped and without a label, its surface weathered by time and tide. But it wasn't empty. Through the thick, clouded glass, she could see a tightly rolled piece of paper tied with a simple piece of string. She had just found a message in a bottle, a romantic notion she thought only existed in films. But what she couldn't possibly know yet was that she was holding a 132-year-old time capsule, a scientific artifact from a forgotten world of meticulous German exploration. And when researchers finally uncovered its origins, the story it told would rewrite the history books. But before we start our story, smash the like button, make sure you're subscribed, and hit the notifications bell so you won't miss any of our new, incredible stories. Our story begins on a bright, breezy January day. Tonya Illman was taking a casual walk with her husband, Kim, and a family friend across the vast, rolling sand dunes of Wedge Island. This remote stretch of coastline, located about 180 kilometers north of Perth, is a place where civilization feels very far away. It's a landscape carved by the relentless power of the Indian Ocean, where powerful winds constantly move the dunes, uncovering long-buried secrets one day, only to hide them again the next. As Tonya walked near the water's edge, her eyes, accustomed to scanning for interesting shells and sea glass, were drawn to an object lodged in the soft, white sand. It was a dark, gin-style bottle, beautiful in its antiquity. She called out to her husband, initially thinking it would simply make a nice decorative piece for their bookshelf at home. She picked it up. It felt heavy and solid in her hands, a testament to an older, more robust style of glassmaking. It was then, as she tilted it in the sunlight, that she and her friend noticed something that made their hearts skip a beat. Inside, there was a scroll, a tightly rolled piece of paper, bound with what looked like simple string. A real message in a bottle. A wave of excitement washed over them, their minds filled with romantic possibilities. Could it be a love letter from a lonely sailor lost at sea a century ago? Or perhaps a desperate plea for help from a shipwrecked castaway, a final message of survival or despair? The reality, however, would turn out to be far more extraordinary, scientifically significant, and historically profound than any of them could have ever imagined. The act of casting a sealed message into the sea is a practice that speaks to the deepest parts of the human spiritor, struggle against the vastness of the world, and our yearning for connection, remembrance, and discovery. This timeless tradition is far older than many realize. The ancient Greek philosopher Theophrastus, a student of Aristotle, is said to have used sealed bottles around 310 BC, not for romance, but for science. He cast them into the sea to test his theory that the Mediterranean was formed by the inflow of water from the Atlantic Ocean. Centuries later, during his perilous return from the New World, Christopher Columbus, fearing his ship would be lost in a violent storm, reportedly sealed a report of his discoveries inside a wooden barrel and threw it into the raging sea, praying it would one day wash ashore and deliver the news of his success to Queen Isabella of Spain. Throughout history, these messages became woven into the fabric of maritime folklore. They were the last words of sailors on sinking ships, tragic notes from passengers of the Titanic, and the stuff of literary legends, like in Edgar Allan Poe's MS, found in a bottle. But in the latter half of the 19th century, this age-old practice was about to be transformed from a desperate measure into a tool of systematic global science. This was an age of unprecedented industrial and imperial ambition, and one nation, in particular, was determined to make its mark on the world stage. The late 1800s was the era of the newly unified German Empire. Under the iron-willed leadership of Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, Germany was experiencing a period of explosive industrial growth and intense national pride. To compete with the colossal British Empire's long-standing dominance of the seas, Germany knew it couldn't just build more ships. It needed to understand the oceans better, faster, and more scientifically than its rivals. This monumental task fell to the prestigious German Naval. Their method was ingenious in its simplicity. They would turn the entire global shipping fleet into a network of floating research stations. The Observatory instructed the captains of German merchant ships to throw thousands of specially prepared bottles overboard as they traversed every major trade route on the planet. Each bottle contained a pre-printed form, a drift-and flash-in post asking the finder to record the date and location where the bottle was found and, if possible, return the note to the observatory in Hamburg in exchange for a small reward. It was a massive crowd-sourced analog data collection project designed to unlock the secrets of the sea. One of the many vessels participating in this grand experiment was the Paula, a three-masted bark. She was not a glamorous warship or a luxurious passenger liner, but a rugged workhorse of the sea built to endure the long, punishing trade routes that were the lifeblood of the empire. A bark like the Paula was a complex machine of wood, canvas, and rope, crewed by hardened sailors who understood the ocean's brutal power. Their journey would take them from Germany, down the coast of Europe, around the treacherous Cape of Good Hope in Africa, and then east, across the vast, empty expanse of the Indian Ocean, a journey that tested the limits of both ship and crew. On the 12th of June, 1886, while sailing in this remote stretch of ocean, approximately 950 kilometers off the barren coast of Western Australia, the captain of the Paula dutifully followed his orders. He took one of the observatory's bottles, meticulously filled out the form with the ship's name, the date, and its precise coordinates, sealed it, and cast it into the churning deep blue waves. Then it was gone, swallowed by the sea. For 132 years, the bottle was subject to the whims of the ocean. It may have drifted for decades, been caught in powerful currents like the West Australian current, or perhaps was quickly buried in the seabed, only to be churned up by a powerful storm a century later. It remained a silent messenger, waiting for a one-in-a-billion chance encounter on a remote beach. Back in the 21st century, Tonya and Kim Illman were faced with a delicate and nerve-wracking problem. The precious hand-rolled note was wedged tightly inside the bottle's neck. They knew instinctively that trying to force it out with tweezers or wire would almost certainly tear the fragile. They brought the bottle home, their initial excitement now mixed with a heavy sense of responsibility. Their son's girlfriend, thinking creatively, suggested a gentle trick she had heard of, carefully warming the bottle in the kitchen oven for a few minutes. The theory was that the slight, dry heat might help evaporate any residual moisture, making the paper less brittle and more likely to slide out. After a few minutes, they took it out, their hearts pounding. Kim, holding his breath, tipped the bottle just right. To their immense relief, the scroll, freed from the grip of time and moisture, slid out perfectly into his hand. Now came the most crucial part. The paper was antique, delicate, and browned with age. They carefully untied the simple piece of string that had held it secure for over a century. With the gentle touch of a surgeon, they began to unroll the note. As it opened, they saw the faint, elegant script of 19th century German handwriting. At the top, a date was clearly visible: 12, June 1886. They stared at it in disbelief. If this was authentic, it was older than anyone in their family, older than the cars they drove, older than the country of Australia as a federation. The note also contained the ship's coordinates, its name Paula, and the formal printed request for the finder to contact the German Naval Observatory. Kim Illman, a history and photography enthusiast, immediately grasped the potential significance of their find. This wasn't just an old bottle, it was a potential artifact. They began their own research online, their living room turning into an amateur historical investigation unit. They quickly discovered records of the 19th century German oceanographic experiment. The pieces of the puzzle began to click into place. This wasn't a personal letter, it was a scientific data point. A tiny piece of a colossal, forgotten project. Realizing they were now custodians of something far too important to keep on their bookshelf, they made the right decision. They contacted the experts at the Western Australian Museum. Dr. Ross Anderson, the museum's assistant curator of maritime archaeology, received their email. His initial reaction, as he later admitted, was one of professional skepticism. The museum regularly receives calls about supposed historical fine-sold coins, shipwreck fragments, and yes, messages in bottles that often turn out to be modern hoaxes, replicas, or simply wishful thinking. But when the Illmans provided clear photographs of the bottle, the elegantly tied note, the specific date, and the ship's name, his skepticism quickly turned to intense professional curiosity. The details were too specific, too correct for the period. He asked them to bring it in immediately for examination. When Dr. Anderson finally held the note and the bottle in his gloved hands, his pulse quickened. Everything looked authentic. The bottle was a genuine 19th century Dutch gin bottle. The paper was of a type common in the late 1800s. The ink showed signs of natural fading consistent with its age. But to be absolutely certain, to move from highly likely to historically proven, he needed to perform the ultimate cross-reference. This began the next phase of the investigation, a global collaboration between Australian and European historians and archivists. Dr. Anderson and his team reached out to their colleagues in Germany, posing the crucial question, do the original records from the Deutsche Seewart and the ship Paula still exist after 2 world wars and over 130 years? The answer, incredibly, was yes. Deep within the German archives, the meticulous, organized records of the German Naval Observatory had survived. The German archivists began the painstaking, needle-in-a-haystack process of searching through thousands of pages of old, handwritten shipping logs looking for a single entry from a single ship on a single day over a century ago. The tension was palpable on both sides of the world. The entire story, the world record, the historical significance, it all hinged on whether a matching entry could be found in that dusty logbook, and then the email that would make history arrive from Germany. They had found it. The German researchers had located the original meteorological journal for the bark Paula. In it, they found an entry, handwritten by the captain, H.O. Diekman, that a Driftenflaschen posted drift bottle had been thrown overboard. The coordinates listed in the captain's log were an exact match for the coordinates written on the note found by Tonya Illman. As a final, definitive, goosebump-inducing piece of proof, the handwriting in the logbook was a perfect match for the handwriting on the note. There was no longer any doubt the Illmans had found a genuine message from 1886. The discovery was officially verified and announced to the world. At 131 years and 223 days old, it was declared the oldest known message in a bottle in human history, shattering the previous record of 108 years, which was held by a bottle also from the German experiment. The story became a global media sensation. What started as a casual family walk on a remote beach had ended with a Guinness World Record and a rewritten piece of maritime history. The find was remarkable not just for its incredible age, but for what it represented. It was a ghost from a different era of science, a time of methodical patience and global cooperation before satellites and computers, when our understanding of the planet was built by hand, one data point at a time, one bottle cast hopefully into the sea. For Tonya and Kim Illman, the journey was surreal. They could have sold the bottle and its message to a private collector for a significant sum of money, but they knew it didn't truly belong to them. It belonged to history, to the people of Australia, and to the world. They chose to loan the incredible find to the Western Australian Museum, where it is now on permanent display, a tangible link to a forgotten past. The bottle, which had survived 132 years adrift in the world's most powerful oceans, had finally completed its journey. It serves as a powerful reminder that the world is full of hidden stories, of echoes from the past still waiting to be heard. All it takes, sometimes, is a walk on a windy beach, and the curiosity to stop and take a closer look at what the ocean has decided to give back. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this incredible journey through history, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you never miss our upcoming stories.